Dark Knight's Metal #4, Scott Snyder writing,
Yeah.
Greg Capullo on art. It's been a couple of months. Obviously, we had the one shot last month, Batman Lost. Honestly, my first thought with this is that this felt weird coming back to this, because for the first 3 issues, it felt like there was metal stuff coming out every week, and it was always on my mind. It was always kind of had this momentum. And then coming to this, I was like, oh, aye, metal's a thing again. and I opened it, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is where we were. But I have to admit, that a little bit of the momentum is, it's maybe not as there as it was before.
That's fair. I think that's a bit of a symptom of just the way they staggered all the tie-ins and where they were in the story.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're just reading the main book, you've only had 1 month that's felt longer than all the others. But obviously we were reading everything, so we had, like I say, we had stuff every week.
Which I do have to say, I think I said this at the time, but that Justice League crossover feels really inconsequential because they're just back onto the mission they're on.
I wish it didn't exist.
Yeah, because they're just doing exactly what they were doing at the start of said crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least the Gotham Resistance one, it may have been a small thing, but at least they did discover something important in that miniseries.
By the time the next issue came around, it assumed that you had that knowledge from that. Even if you hadn't read it, it assumed that, okay, you just know this is established.
Whereas this is built to just ignore that Justice League crossover, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I do have to be somewhat negative here, actually, because I do think this is the weakest issue of the main series so far. I don't know what I have no idea if you guys agree with that or yet, because I've not spoke to Connor since he's read it. I've not heard Matt's thoughts on it.
I don't think it's the weakest. I think it's on par, but it doesn't have the high highs. The ending's pretty cool. Like, that was a cool reveal. Like, turn to the page and you're like, oh crap. But I really want to know why Plastic Man's an egg. Like, just tell me. This is the thing that's been going on since...
Well, there's something inside him, right?
Yeah, he's protecting something.
Yeah. But, like, the fact that they're bringing him to Thanagar, which is the Hawk planet, and then even Hal Jordan makes that joke that I'll just tell him I laid this egg, and that'll earn their respect. I'm just like, what is in there? And it's not going to be nearly as cool as what I'm building it up to be.
It's a Legion ring, Matt.
God, don't do that to me. Oh, man.
That's reserved for Doomsday Clock, and we all know it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I love parts of this issue. There are some things in here I really love, but I think it's the most scattershot issue as well. Like, there's a few too many scenes.
I agree with that. I feel like my biggest problem with this issue is I feel like so much of it is a lot of like really wacky exposition explaining the history of a lot of things. Sandman's there and he's talking about this forge and Barbatos, and I'm just like, all right, you're monologuing with a lot of speech bubbles here.
See, the thing is,
I love that though.
That's the stuff I really enjoyed. It was all the other stuff, catching up with the individual teams. I feel like I didn't need all of the teams. Maybe just do one or two, and just have longer bits with them instead. Whereas that stuff, with Dream, like you're saying, like I was like, oh, okay, no, this is the stuff I want from Metal.
Well, the fact where you turn to that page and you see the constellations, and there's a monitor and the anti-monitor, and then the World Forge blacksmith, and then that dragon.
It's so good.
Like Capullo, I like when he gets super detailed, but I also like when he does big, broad things like that.
Yeah,
so the fact here I have this alien atmosphere there, in the landscape, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved the very first page as well. So it's the recap essentially.
Yeah,
but it was done as it's a story in a book, one of Dream's books. But it's all these childlike drawings almost.
Yeah, I almost wish like that was the thing from the start, where this was Dream telling the story. So then when he shows up to Batman, was that the end of the first issue? Like,
yes.
It wouldn't have felt weird.
It wouldn't have felt so jarring, and it would have felt like the narrator is feeling like now he has to get involved.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere at the time. Yeah.
Yes.
I think. I'm kind of frustrated with this issue because I do think a lot of this exposition, because sometimes Snyder's accused of being having too much to say, too much dialogue. And I do think sometimes he falls into that, and I feel like here he does. I feel like, and this is the thing I hate most about Snyder when I don't like him, is he brings out all these really big concepts, these big ideas, but he speeds through them so much that none of them have time for me to really get attached to them and really accept them as kind of something that like the very idea that Batman and Superman are both really old and it feels that they've been there for decades on this machine. It's like, okay, so I guess they're just old now, but I don't really feel like I've got the weight of them actually having that experience. You know, it just kind of feels like, oh, it just is, because that's what he wants to do in the story.
We kind of saw that though over the last couple issues of when Batman was plugged into the battery, and then Superman wasn't plugged in nearly as long. So he has a little bit of gray, but Superman's an older man.
I also like if it makes us feel like we're kind of with the league and everyone else, where we're still passing at normal time, and then we kind of come into them and go, oh, you're old now, and so they don't see that journey, and we don't really we get little glimpses, like Matt said, but not enough.
Can we talk about Superman's nightmares and if that's part of the bigger plan of Barbatos? Like, so is there versions for each of the League? Like, does he have Dark Knights for the Flash and Wonder Woman? Because I like that concept, and that's one I can see like Pete saying, like, he introduces this thing, like, we get Superman's nightmares, and there's basically Superman in a Lex Luthor suit, and then Superman dressed as like Dark Knight Returns Batman, and then of course the one that killed me was Electric Blue Superman.
Yeah, of course.
From the 90s.
I love how there's nothing different about him. He's just Electric Blue Superman.
Yeah, it's just like, that was terrifying. I never want to go back to
that. Yeah. But he introduces these, and they're just like, yeah, we're Superman's nightmare, and now that he's plugged in, there's nothing you guys can do because he's the ultimate battery. And I was just like, well, wait, why are they there? Like, where'd they come from? And it would have been nice to see something from Snyder and Capullo, like, with Barbatos plucking, some heroes or villains, whatever you want to call them, out from this dark multiverse. So it's not just Batman's nightmares.
I think
it's everyone's.
For me, sometimes I feel like it's almost cold, like he misses the emotion from what the scene could be, and I feel like it glosses over what would like really like make it land for me is like the actual weight of, because there's a really sort of sweet scene where Superman kind of gives Bruce a pep talk about Batman being hopeful, and he makes him think, think of something to fight for, and he thinks of Damien and his kids. He says, he refers to him as his children, thinking of the Robins and and Batgirl and whoever else. And I'm like, oh, that's a really sweet idea. I almost like feel like take this this issue's maybe should have been more focused as a existential crisis for him.
I think this is where what you want and what Snyder wants to do with Metal are just different. Like you're saying, you want these emotional beats, whereas I think Snyder is kind of really playing into Metal as an idea, as a concept, and just having fun and being insane ideas. Like you say, there are a lot of insane ideas.
But then, I mean, that tender moment though, because they can only get to the World Forge if they feel the hope and wonder, because Barbatos has corrupted it, right? So a little that whole story about the dragon, where Barbatos was the dragon and took over, so everything's been corrupted. And
they explained that Barbatos was actually meant to be there. He was meant to be killing the Dark Worlds, and then he sort of went rogue and decided not to.
He killed the forger, the blacksmith, and he's taken it over, and that's why these Dark Worlds have been able to stay around. And so because of that corruption that surrounds this forge, to get through the dark multiverse, you have to keep hope and wonder in your heart. You have to stay pure. And so for Batman, who can be, construed as a super dark character, right? He's from tragedy. He hides in the shadows. But there is a whole lot of hope to him, and Superman reminds him that.
Yeah, that's his whole thing, isn't it? He doesn't remember.
Yeah, a really tender moment, and otherwise like, hey, this is cool, big, huge story. When I say big and huge, not like monumental, but like it's broad.
Scope, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say like I'm super down on it, because there are things I like in here. I'm still positive on the event as a whole. This is the issue though where I feel like this is kind of what I was starting to really not like about his Batman towards the end of his run.
Okay. I definitely have some problems, like I said, scattershot, like the Hal side of things with Starro just there. I'm like, okay.
The Starro thing, that made me mad. I thought, I got a chuckle out of the editor's notes.
Yeah, the editor's note was the best part, because it was like, Starro regrew himself from like a cut off something or other.
From one of his tentacles, which fun fact, starfish can do. If you cut off, as long as there's a piece of the center, they'll regrow a whole other starfish. So
I think I knew that, actually, now you're bringing it up. I think I knew that.
It's those little things that I love that Snyder does in his research. Like, So if you know it, it's cool. If not, it's just another story
and
plot.
the editor's note was funny because it was like, whoever the editor is, I can't remember, but it says,
Yeah.
this happened, actually, when did this happen, Scott and Greg?
Yeah.
And then there was a second one, it's just send Scott and Greg with the little devil horns. That was all it was. Okay, that was amusing, but it almost actually points out what's not right about it.
No, it feels like this scene was there for that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. It really does.
Well, and just the voice of Starro, too. Starro's like this dude. Like, the way that he talks.
Losers.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, this is funny, and it's not a Starro I've ever seen, but there's really no other reason for him to be there except to take out Hal.
Why does Starro suddenly have the attitude that Jessica's ring does? Where did that happen?
No, like I said, this is one of my problems with the issue. Like I said, there's just things in here that are just introduced. Like I don't mind a lot of the big ideas, but there's just too many in this specific issue.
Honestly, I think all of the Justice League stuff should be taken out except Wonder Woman with Kendra, because Kendra's actually goes somewhere. That actually leads to something.
It is, but even that just pulls out. Oh, okay, we got the astral brain.
It just pulls it out of nowhere.
Where did that come from?
There's just a lot of pulling of things out of nowhere in this issue.
They set up the astral brain in the first issue with the League of Immortals. They have the brain.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, they mentioned it, but
and you know you can't have matter and antimatter. So this was their failsafe. Was, well, if we can't stop the dark multiverse, we'll just destroy it with an antimatter bomb. Basically.
Yeah,
so that was cool.
But I think if you boil it down to just the Batman Superman thing and what they're doing, and then just the Kendra with Wonder Woman stuff, and give them both more time to develop to what they're getting to, I feel like it could have had more beats in each story that actually built up and paid off.
Because I liked the first Hal scene when he's arriving, that was funny, that was good. But the Starro bit felt like, okay, this needed a bit more time. Like next issue, kind of do something with that instead. I will say I did like the one page that we got of Aquaman and Deathstroke. I like that. I mean, it actually felt quite focused in what it was doing. So it was maybe okay. There was only one page, but I think I'd rather have that one page here and then have some time with them next issue. And I feel like that's what we could have done with Hal as well. Like have that first page or so of them getting there, and then have anything with Starro that they were gonna do that next issue and kind of do it a bit more time with it. So
Kendra turns into Lady Blackhawk, this demented hawk girl.
The darkness
version.
Is one. Yeah.
Yeah. All roads lead to darkness, as we've been hearing.
Also, freaking Black Adam.
Black Adam shows up, because
they're on the Rock of Eternity.
Because Fate's about to, take care of things. Fate's like, okay, I'm going to fix this, and then Black Adam shows up. And apparently, the League of Immortals have made a deal with Barbatos. They're like, oh, but you know what? Yeah, we'll just make a deal with them so we can hang around and be in his world. It's fine.
I did think Adam looked a little young.
He does look young.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah. But he also it was him and Vandal Savage, that made the deal. But we know that Roz was there, so I'm wondering, if that's going to come into play. That you don't introduce Ra's al Ghul and then not give him nothing to do, especially he's, a Batman writer, like Snyder. So, but yeah, I got super excited over Black Adam. Like I was like, okay, cool. This is between this and the Rock of Eternity. Billy's out there somewhere, And
we know he's out. He was in a book like at the start of Rebirth.
What book was he in at the start of Rebirth?
He was in issue 1 of Constantine. Or Hellblazer, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
He showed up in that book with Wonder Woman.
He did.
Well, he hasn't been there since. Like.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's not a mystery. They're just not doing anything with him.
Yeah, well, this just completely ruins my idea of who's in that body bag.
Sorry about that, but you're working on false information here.
Yeah.
To be fair, they could retcon it. There's only one issue.
Oh, they could retcon it. Sure, DC retcon things all the time, but just...
Yeah. Well, I just thought, with all this talk of hope and wonder, like, who has more hope and wonder than a kid?
I mean,
and then if
it does make me think that maybe Shazam will show up because Black Adam's now in the fray. Like, it would make sense to, like, combat him with Shazam. It would make sense. So in the Forge, at the end of the book, we get big, evil, demented Hawkman monster.
Looks incredible. The scope, the size is unreal.
Oh yeah,
you
he's like
see Batman and Superman at the bottom, and they're tiny.
yeah, he's like a kaiju basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a giant hammer! I'm sure that pleased Matt.
Yeah. So, is he the blacksmith, or is he the dragon? Because he says he's the dragon of
Barbatos.
the Dark Multiverse, right? Of Barbados.
Yeah.
So,
but he has the hammer like he's the blacksmith.
Well,
right, so
I
are they one and
imagine.
the same now.
Well, no, I imagine he's replaced the because he can't have always been the blacksmith, right?
No, of course
No.
not.
Yeah,
But that's
Well,
my point.
Barbatos killed the
Barbatos.
blacksmith. That was the point.
I know, but I'm just
Barbatos
clarifying that
dragon.
he's not always been the blacksmith. He's became the blacksmith.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But so if he's the dragon, then why has he got the big old hammer? Is he been, is he both? Because of the Dark Multiverse, he's not allowing them to be destroyed, but he's creating all of these Dark Multiverses on Barbados's command. You know what I mean? Like, and this isn't a story plot. This is just where my brain went to.
No, I'm with you. You're saying because Barbatos
Yeah.
was the dragon,
Yeah.
but Hawkman is here saying he's the dragon, but he looks like he should be the blacksmith because of his appearance with the hammer. So which is he? Yeah, no, I'm with you. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
so it's just a story point. I mean, it's not a big deal. Didn't take me out, but yeah, like you said, the scope of it and just like, well, now we know what Hawkman Founds is going to be all
Yeah,
about.
it makes sense that that's the next issue. I think that's next
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah, that's next
Yep.
week, I think. Yeah. So that was an okay issue. I didn't love it. It definitely didn't hype me as a lot of the same way as the first 2 or 3 did.
I definitely had a couple of problems with a few of the scenes, but overall I came out of it, pumped.
Yeah.